So I started Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone a few days ago, but I didn't really read much when I first started it. I just didn't have time. I read a good chunk of it yesterday. I think I read almost 100 pages yesterday, but I'm pleasantly surprised by this book. When it first started off, there were a couple quirks about our main female character that I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this, but I am liking it. Our female main character, she's very quirky. She's someone who every man on the street that she sees, she will imagine a life with them and make up stories in her head and kind of just be daydreaming, I guess is what she calls it, about these men. You get to know her and the reason she's doing stuff like that. We're following her journey through grief. She lost someone very close to her and it's really affecting her in all manners. She goes to a babysitting gig for this girl named Ainsley while her mom is away doing stuff. She meets this man named Miles, who's Ainsley's uncle. And Miles has also gone through grief in his life. Essentially, he comes off as like this grumpy man. However, he seems like he cares a lot more. He just wants to be the best uncle he can for Ainsley and kind of like be there for her. And Lenny is just naturally good with kids. And so he sees how good she is with Ainsley and he kind of wants her to help him get better at building his relationship with his niece. And on the other end of it, Lenny's best friend passed away from cancer and that's kind of the grief that she's going through. Lenny and Lou kind of created this list of things for Lenny to be able to live again post Lou passing away. And so Miles finds out about the list through Lenny and so he kind of wants to strike up this offer of he'll help her accomplish the things on her list if she helps him get closer with Ainsley. But that's kind of the overall premise, is that they're now teaming up where Lenny's gonna show Miles how to kind of be better around kids and be more present for Ainsley and kind of just how to talk to her and be with her. And Miles is helping Lenny out with her grief journey and just doing the things to make her feel like she's still living post having lost someone so close to you. Lou was like a sister to Lenny. They fought like sisters, they got along like sisters, they did everything together. So she doesn't even want to go back to the apartment that they both lived in because of how traumatic the experience was and just not wanting to revisit going through her clothes and going through her things. And as someone personally who's gone through grief as well, like I get it. I completely understand why she wouldn't want to go back and do that. Like it's like reliving it all over again, going through the things that like this person isn't here, but all their things are still here. I'm enjoying it a lot more than I was like at the beginning when it was just like all those little quirks about it. I was like, that's kind of odd that she's daydreaming about men around her in that manner. And it's very interesting. It's on page 116. Now my plan is to read it at the bookstore. I am in the middle of 2 other books as well, but they're both fantasy books. And I just feel like I've been reading a lot of fantasy. So I'm feeling a little bit of a burnout from fantasy. So I did end up picking this up. So now I'm in the middle of 3 books. So I need to finish one at some point because I have not finished a book in March yet. That's okay. I mean, it is what it is. Like sometimes I read a book in a week. Sometimes I read 2 books in a week. Sometimes I read no books in a week. But I am going to take this. I feel like it's really fast paced and there's a lot of heavy topics and things like that in here, but I will give some updates when I get further into the book. My hope is that I can get over halfway through today because I've got some time and then finish it up on Sunday. But that's the plan for today. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm really excited to be back in romance book. I feel like I haven't read romance in a little while, but I do like it every once in a while. I feel like it is perfect for me to be able to read every once in a while. I feel like if I was reading all the time, I'd feel a burnout from romance. Anyways, I'm gonna go make a coffee and I am going to go get ready to go to the bookstore and I will see you all in a little bit. Okay, so I finished Promise Me Sunshine, so I want to talk about it because this book pleasantly surprised me. Promise Me Sunshine, we were following our FMC whose friend passed away due to cancer and her journey through grief essentially through this book. She's kind of trying to learn how to live her life again. She does odd jobs here and there nannying and she meets this one family who the mom is always working all the time, so she's helping to babysit and nanny her child Ainsley. And in meeting Ainsley and babysitting for this family, she meets Miles, who's Ainsley's uncle. There's complicated history between Reese, who's Ainsley's mom, and Miles, but Miles and our female main character Lenny, they meet each other and he just comes off as this really grumpy person and she comes off as this very bubbly person. It's crazy because it really is a whole thing of you don't always know people and you don't know what's going on the inside, and what people present in society and in the world is not always who they are behind everything. And so that's kind of like one of the deeper themes within this book, is that not everything is what it seems and people can put on this front of being this happy bubbly positive person and be going through hell and back behind the scenes, and vice versa. Like someone could come off as grumpy but they're just very protective of their heart and their emotions. So we just get to see like a lot of that dynamic, but they essentially meet each other. She's really good with Ainsley. She's very good with kids in general. He, however, is not, because he comes off as grumpy and kind of to himself. Ainsley doesn't really necessarily like go out of her way to hang out with him and talk to him and stuff. So before Lenny's friend passed away, or she wrote a list of things for Lenny to be able to kind of feel like she's gonna live again post having her friend pass away, because obviously when someone you love and as important as their friendship was, like they were sisters in a sense. I've gone through grief and I've lost my dad and I remember remember going through that, and that was hell. Like, that was me at my lowest of lows. And so going through something like that and having to piece yourself back together is very difficult. Like, they wrote this list of things for Lenny to be able to kind of live again and just get back to being her usual self as much as she can be after having lost someone so important to her. So there's a bunch of things on this list, but Lenny hasn't done any of them. She doesn't even want to look at the list. She doesn't even want to go through them because that list reminds her of her friend. She's at the point where she doesn't even go back to her apartment where her and her friend lived at because she doesn't want to look at all the stuff and have to actually process that this is real life and like this is happening. And I completely felt that so much in Lenny. Like, there's so much of things that you block out and that you black out when you're going through something as traumatic as grief and having to lose someone that you love. And I felt a lot for her in those situations. However, she has this list of things, and Miles is someone who wants to get close to Ainsley. So Miles and Lenny strike out this deal where Lenny is going to help Miles become more open and help him kind of be able to hang out with Ainsley a little bit more and just become better with kids in general. And then Miles is helping Lenny complete this list of hers. So we have this trade-off between them where he's helping her, she's helping him in different capacities, and then throughout that they learn more about each other, they get a little bit closer. It really just is a story about grief and healing and just being able to lean on people to support you, because these are two individuals who don't really like sharing a lot and leaning on people a lot. They are very to themselves, and so having each other and building this bond through healing together. Now, at the beginning of this book, there were a lot of quirks about Lenny that I was like, this is a little bit odd. I don't know if I'm liking this. She's someone who every single time she sees a good looking guy, like, she'll imagine and picture an entire future with her, which makes me now think that she would be a very good storyteller from like the way that she pictures things and like the stories she makes up in her head about the people that she meets. But she did that a lot, and it was like weirding me out at the beginning, but then it became a big part of her character throughout the book. And the way that Cara Bastone kind of wrapped that around at the end and brought that quirk back into kind of the way that the relationship between her and Miles kind of evolved was very, very clever. And I really enjoyed that, and I liked that that quirk came back, that it wasn't just a quirk that was thrown in to make her have character. It was thrown in there for a purpose, and it kind of came back around in full circle. Lenny, she really grew on me as a character. I really started feeling for her. I loved the dynamic between her and Ainsley and Reese, as well as the relationship between her and Miles and how that progressed. And the overall feeling of the story, like, this was just, it was just a good story. It was just good. I'm thinking about it and I'm like, yeah, no, I really enjoyed this story. This was a really great romance, and I would recommend this book. I think I gave it a 4-star right away when I finished reading it. It could be a 4.25, honestly. I really enjoyed it. The dynamics and the friend groups that they created as well was just so unique and fun, and overall this book was just something that I'll think about for a while. I did know before jumping into this book that there was a heavy topic of grief that was present throughout the book, and I thought it was going to be a little bit deeper. Like, I thought it was going to be more on that side of things, and it did take precedence in the book, but it didn't go to the extent that I thought it was going to be about. Like, there were a lot of things that they said that I did relate to and a lot of things that I couldn't relate to, and that just goes to show that everyone's experience with things like grief and trauma are so different that you can't always expect to have the same experience, which is why it's so nice to read books and hear stories and listen to different perspectives, because people go through the same things but can be going through it in such different kinds of ways that it really makes you see things. And that's the whole point of reading, right? To like see different perspectives, to understand different perspectives and build that empathy around, okay, we had similar experiences but we didn't have the same outcome, same exact experience. So very interesting. I like this book a lot. I'm gonna settle on a 4 to 4.25 star rating for this book, but yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It really did surprise me, and I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. I think from reading all fantasy books I was reading and everything, I needed a romance, and this was kind of like, it found me at the perfect time. Those are my thoughts about this book. Moving on, I did start Heartless by Elsie Silver. Now I've had the itch to want to get back into the series. I read the first book last year in May and it's March, so I was like, I can't let a year go by without having read the second book. Now I know Heartless is everybody's favorite book in the series. However, I'm so excited for Powerless, getting Jasper's story. I really liked his character in Falls so much, so I'm excited for that. And also I love hockey, so I feel like Powerless has the potential to be a favorite. But I did start reading this, and even getting one chapter in, it made me realize why I love Elsie Silver's writing so much. She just builds these really funny characters. Like, the banter is just top notch. I'm already loving it so much, and I'm only one chapter in. I was like, yes, this feels like coming home. I'm really excited to get more into it and read this book. I'm just laughing all the time. I'm having a good time. Like, the story's flowing. I'm really excited to continue this today. I'm so happy to be back in this world. I'm so happy to be back with some new characters and getting to know their side of things and their perspective on things. I know this is a lot of people's favorite in the series, and so I'm really excited to be in this world. And like, not to brag, but I am reading this for the first time, so I'm excited to get back into it. I haven't read any of her other series. This is literally the second book of hers that I'll be reading, but I love being back in this world, and I will come back in a little bit when I have some more thoughts and opinions and all that jazz. I feel like the way that she writes dialogue with her characters are very much like what people would say in real life, and the way that people would interact with each other in real life. Bits and pieces in here that are just like make it feel so normal and so much like you're just watching a conversation happen in real time with these characters, and it doesn't feel overly written. These characters are so true to themselves and so just like blatantly blunt when it comes to their thought processes and everything, and it's just like, it's so refreshing to see that in books, that it's just like you get what you get and you're getting all their thoughts and everything, and I love that. I recently finished Heartless by Elsie Silver, so I want to talk about it. In Heartless, we are following Cade, who is a single dad to Luke, as well as Willa, and both these characters were side characters in Flawless. Willa is Summer's best friend, and Cade is Rhett's brother. Essentially, what Cade is looking for over the summer is a nanny to kind of help him babysit Luke, his kid, because he's just getting busy. He feels like he needs additional support, but every woman in the town has like this infatuation with him. Like everybody has this crush over him, they're fawning over him, and he doesn't really want to deal with that for an entire summer, like feeling uncomfortable with someone who's living in his house, taking care of his kid. So cue Summer introduces him to Willa, who's her friend. She thinks that they are not going to get along, that Cade doesn't have to worry, and Willa has an escape from the city. She's someone who comes from the city, she lives in the city, and she just wanted a little bit of an escape from her life, so she was planning on coming out to the ranch for a little bit. She ends up staying for the job of taking care of Luke, and one of my favorite things about this entire book was the relationship between Willa and Cade's son Luke, the almost like mother-son relationship that they develop. Luke is just such a special kid in this book. Like he has gone through so much and is still like the happiest kid in the world, and his relationship with Willa and just having a mother figure in his life, because his mother is very absent in his life, was so nice to see that he was finally getting that bond with her. As Willa is taking care of Luke, obviously the dynamics between her and Cade are changing. They start off kind of just being very tense with each other and very combative, and throughout the book you get to really know the characters well and see them really well. And Willa is someone who will go to bat for the people that she loves and the people that are in her circle, and she does not take BS. She is one of the strongest female characters I've read. I've loved reading and following her in this because she's just a no BS kind of person, and Cade is someone who needs someone like that to kind of level him out, but they are just the most perfect couple. They are just so perfect together, and I feel like reading that and seeing the development from start to end was really fun and interesting, and I really enjoyed that side of it. But yeah, I think my favorite relationship to come out of the book was the one between Willa and Luke, and I feel like Willa is just like a bright light in people's lives. She just is like a family member to everybody. Like even if she's not blood related, she's very much so involved in all the dynamics, and she just fits in so well with the entire ranch and everything. And I do think this couple, they're just so meant to be. A couple issues I had that kind of like dropped it to like a 4-star rating out of 5 was, I'm not someone who typically loves spice in books. I don't care for it. If it's in there, I'll read it, and if it's not, like I'm fine with that too. I'll read spice if it's put into the right context and the right scene. Like if it's just thrown in there for the heck of like writing a scene about it, I can tell. I feel like as a reader you can tell, and then it doesn't just really fit the story. But if it's in there and it makes sense in the storyline, sure, I'll read it. But I feel like with this book, it was dragging on quite a bit at certain points. Like we got 3 full chapters of just that. I did find a little bit of it dragging, and then the age gap between our female main character and male main character kind of just weirded me out at certain points. But she's very mature, he's very mature, and we got to see different sides of these people who have these rough exteriors, but they're really just like little teddy bears on the inside. Like it was so interesting to see that type of dynamic between two characters who are headstrong, who are very set in their ways and their opinions, but seeing them kind of be broken down by each other. I think there's one scene where they're both crying at one point. They're like, I never cry, and the other one was like, me neither, and they're just like crying together and stuff. So they're able to kind of crack each other's shells but still have an exterior on for everyone else in the world. It was just a beautiful way of expressing that these people were meant to be together. I landed on a 4 out of 5 star, and I really like this, and I'm so excited to read the next book because I feel like that one might be my favorite in the series, just because I know that book's about Jasper, and I just know that he is like one of the funniest characters. His one-liners in this book just really hit too, and I really love the way that Elsie Silver set up the next book. We got a little bit more insight into Jasper and who's going to be in the next book, and it was set up really well because I was like really paying attention to all the subtle cues we got about Jasper and the relationship that book is going to take place in, and I'm really excited. I think it's going to be really interesting to finally get answers about him because he's such a quiet character. So that's all I have to say about this. I landed on a 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm really excited to read the next one. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you stayed till the end, make sure you like and subscribe to keep up with my content, and I hope to see you in the next one.